Good evening and welcome to WELGA's Prospective Elected Members webinar. My name is Tony Brown and I'm the Executive Manager of Governance and Organisational Services at WELGA. I'm joined this evening by James McGovern and Lynn Fogg from our governance team, who will assist in answering your questions at the end of this webinar. I'm also joined by our e-learning coordinator Tim Whitehouse and Bree McDonald, our Learning and Logistics Officer. Congratulations on considering to serve your community as an elected member. It is a very worthwhile commitment. In this presentation, we will discuss what you can expect if you are successful in your candidacy for election to your local government. This presentation will not touch on the election process itself. For information, you should contact the appointed returning officer of your local government district. For those participating in the webinar in real time on 17 August, there will be an opportunity to ask questions which we'll endeavour to answer at the end of this presentation. If viewing a recording of this webinar, you can forward your question to the email address shown on the next slide. The webinar will be broken up into the following sections: about local government, roles and responsibilities, meetings of council, declarations of interest, impacts on home life, frequently asked questions, resources and training, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. First section, about local government. Here we'll look at how legislation establishes decision-making powers. Before we do that, first is a quick snapshot of statewide facts on local government in Western Australia. There are 139 councils with 1,220 elected officials, representing just over 2.5 million constituents. Local government employs a total workforce of 22,000 people, or 15,000 full-time equivalents. It spends about $4.1 billion per year, which is 7.3% of the public sector spend. Local government's total assets are $39.9 billion. WA has a great variety of local governments. The Shire of East Pilbara has the largest local government area in the world with 372,000 square kilometres. The Shire of Peppermint Grove is among the smallest areas of 1.36 square kilometres. The 2016 census informs us that the Shire of Serpentine-Jarrahdale has the fastest growing local government population in Australia, with 27,000 people in 2016, up from 18,000 people in 2011. There are three spheres of government in Australia: federal, state and local. Because local government makes decisions about so many things that affect our everyday lives, it is often described as the sphere of government that is closest to the people, the grassroots form of government. The power to make legislation relating to local government is found in the West Australian State Constitution. Section 52 of the WA Constitution Act 1889 requires the state legislature to maintain a system of local government and provide it with relevant powers. It is therefore often said that local government is a creature of state legislation. Currently, there is no direct link between federal and local government in the Australian Constitution, although this does not affect the powers or operation of local government under state legislation. The Local Government Act 1995 is the legislation created by State Parliament to provide for a system of local government in WA. Local governments are created as body corporates with perpetual succession and a common seal and are to be run by elected councils. The Act is a general competence powers piece of legislation. This means a local government can do whatever is required to provide for good government of the people of its district, as long as it does not conflict with existing legislation or common law. As a matter of interest, all West Australian legislation, both in force and that has ceased, can be found on the State Law Publisher website, including the latest version of the Local Government Act 1995. Local government provides a diverse range of services, generally falling under the general headings of people, property, and regulatory services. In many cases, local government must provide services due to a requirement of state legislation. An example is the Planning and Development Act, which relates to town planning matters. Other examples are waste collection, dog and cat control. But local governments can, under general competence powers, choose to provide services to its community. These services will vary from place to place and include things like sport and recreation centres, community events, and tourism initiatives. Section 2 is on roles and responsibilities. Here we will look at the role of a councillor, the mayor or president, the council, and the CEO. We will then see how it all comes together to provide good governance. The Act states that the role of the council is to govern the local government affairs, and that is responsible for the performance of the local government's functions. Furthermore, it is to oversee the allocation of the local government's finances and resources, as well as determining its policies. The council also has the responsibility to ensure there is an appropriate structure for administering the local government. Importantly, it is the council who is the employer of the local government's CEO. However, the council has no further role to play with regard to other employees of the local government. The Local Government Act clearly prescribes the role of a councillor. This includes representing the interests of the community, providing leadership and guidance, facilitating communication and making decisions. Note that elected members have no individual powers. It is the council as a whole that has authority. The Local Government Act clearly prescribes the role of the mayor or president too. Whether popularly elected or not, their role is exactly the same. They lead the council as a team and provide leadership to the community. The responsibilities of the role include presiding at council meetings, providing leadership and guidance, carrying out civic and ceremonial duties on behalf of the local government, speaking on behalf of the local government, and liaising with the CEO. Note again that the mayor or president has no individual powers. Also, please note the final item on the slide. The mayor-president liaises with the CEO. They do not direct. The functions of the local government CEO can be seen in section 5.41 of the Act, and you can tell from the amount of text here on the screen they are quite broad in scope. It is noticeable that the functions of the CEO cannot be assumed or performed by the council. An important aspect of the relationship between the CEO and a mayor or president is that they liaise regularly with one another. This ensures the smooth flow of information between the leader of the administration and the leader of the council. This diagram shows us how it all comes together. The council is a strategic decision maker that plans for the needs of the community, monitoring changes to these needs, allocating financial resources, and reviewing plans to ensure they remain relevant. It performs this decision-making function at formally convened meetings of council where it makes legally binding decisions. The administration is made up of professional officers that put into effect the decisions of the council and manage the services and assets of the community. Although there is a distinct separation of functions between the council and the administration, Great reliance is placed on the ability of each part of the local government to work cooperatively within their functional boundaries to progress the interests of the community and provide good governance. Board-like behaviour. There are significant differences between councils and boards. For example, councils are democratically elected, but there are also similarities which can be seen here. It is appropriate for good governance principles and practices to be implemented by councils. Elected members should be encouraged to develop their capacity to make sound, strategic decisions based on professional advice. Board-like behaviour from elected members in terms of strategic decision-making should be encouraged and facilitated. Professional and strategic decision-making is crucial to good governance, but in striving for this goal, the very important democratic role of elected members in communities should not be forgotten or diminished. NIFO is a well-known acronym to anyone experienced working with a board. The principle of NIFO is nose in, that means ask questions, fingers out, do not interfere in operational matters. This is a very useful principle for elected members to remember and to abide by. The consequences to an elected member of not observing the most important aspect, don't interfere, is the potential to breach the rules of conduct regulations and face an inquiry by the local government standards panel. If declared elected to council, the first duty you will perform will be the signing of this declaration. This important declaration is an acknowledgement of your commitment to the local government and the people of the district for your term of office. On taking office and signing the declaration, you have committed to represent all the people of the entire district. You owe your loyalty to the local government and you have a responsibility of stewardship to maintain the assets and finances of the local government. That is, to leave the local government in a better condition than when you were elected to council. Due to the importance of your office as a councillor and the commitment you have made to the community, it is often stated that an elected member cannot wear two hats where the business of local government is concerned. You are an elected member at all times during your term of office. The theme of this expectation runs through the Local Government Act in the description of your roles and responsibilities. The separation of powers between council and the administration, the concept of nose in, fingers out, and in the way the rules of conduct regulations were developed to encourage appropriate personal behaviours. So now let's look at the rules of conduct. The declaration also requires that you observe the Local Government Rules of Conduct Regulations 2007. It is therefore important for you to appreciate and understand the requirements of the rules, which cover the following key areas: standards of general behaviour, use of information, securing unauthorised advantage or disadvantage, misuse of resources, prohibition against involvement in administration, relations with local government employees. That is, you cannot direct or attempt to direct an employee. Disclosing certain interests and restriction on receiving and disclosure of certain gifts. The rules of conduct are enforceable and can result in penalties should a breach occur. A code of conduct is an open disclosure of the way an organisation operates. It provides visible guidelines for behaviour. A code is meant to complement relevant standards, policies and rules, not to substitute for them. Codes of conduct offer an invaluable opportunity for responsible organisations to create a positive public identity for themselves, which can lead to a more supportive political and regulatory environment and an increased level of public confidence and trust among community members and stakeholders. Section 3 of this presentation is on meetings of council. Councils consist of democratically elected representatives who are elected to represent the community, provide leadership and guidance, and facilitate communication between the community and the council. The important work of a council occurs at formal meetings where legally binding decisions are made. The Mayor or President presides at council meetings. The ordinary meetings of council are convened on at least a monthly basis to discuss matters of significance to the community and to make legally binding decisions. Typically, most meetings will deal with policy and strategy, dealing with development applications, major projects, annual budget and monthly financial management reports, range, scope and delivery of services, and monitoring performance and compliance. A number of things contribute to councillors successfully participating in meetings. You will need to be well prepared by giving yourself enough time to read council minutes, agendas and attached reports. You will need to be across the annual budget and monthly financial management reports. Join in the debate and be an objective decision maker. Be prepared to influence others and to be influenced by others. Some important aspects of the Local Government Act apply to meetings of council. Attendance. Elected members have an obligation to attend meetings and may be disqualified for failure to do so. A quorum is a minimum number of elected members required to be present to conduct a formal meeting. For example, if a council has 13 elected member officers, a minimum of 7 are required for a quorum. The Mayor or President is to preside at all meetings of the council. Out of interest, there is no difference between the role of a Mayor or President. The Act states shires have presidents and towns or cities have mayors. Voting. All elected members present must vote unless a disclosure of interest requires them to leave the meeting, and no vote is to be secret. Further aspects of meetings include simple majority. Most decisions require a simple majority of votes to become a decision of council. Votes that require a simple majority require half of those members present at the meeting who are entitled to vote. An absolute majority, this is where the Act does stipulate certain decisions that require an absolute majority of votes to become a decision of council. For example, adopting the annual budget, absolute majority decisions require one more than half of the officers of council to vote in the affirmative. In respect to the casting vote, where a matter before council results in an equal number of votes of councillors present, the presiding member is required to cast a second vote to break the deadlock. Please note that a casting vote cannot be used to achieve an absolute majority decision. Meeting rules. Formal meeting procedures in the form of standing orders local laws provide a set of standards for the structure and control of meetings. Most councils have adopted such a local law, and it will be important for you to understand its contents. This is especially important since the introduction of the Rules of Conduct regulations, and it is critical that elected members understand and follow the procedures contained in a standing orders local law. It is respectful to understand and abide by the rules set down for your meeting procedures, and penalties may apply for contravention of standing orders. It is essential that you make yourself familiar with your own council standing orders, as they can vary from council to council. Qualified privilege. There is no relevant comparison between the rights of a Member of Parliament and an elected member of a council. Therefore, great care must be taken when making statements at a council meeting or in relation to the affairs of the local government. As a general rule, councillors should make every effort to ensure that statements are factual, accurate, made in good faith, and not made maliciously, so that they cannot be impugned to give rise to a detriment, as this may leave you open to action such as defamation or a breach of the rules of conduct regulations. A council member can only rely on the defence of qualified privilege whilst properly discharging his or her duties in accordance with the Local Government Act. Section 4, Declarations of Interest. We have previously discussed the expectation of your personal behaviour as an elected member, but there is another category termed personal responsibility, where you are directly responsible for assessing whether or not you are conflicted in dealing with a matter before council. It is crucial that newly elected members come up to speed very quickly on their responsibility to understand the definition of interests prescribed in the Local Government Act. It will be solely your responsibility to make a relevant declaration where a personal or business interest intersects with the business of the local government. The following slides provide you with a snapshot of the categories of interest prescribed in the Act. There are three main categories of interest that are likely to impact upon you: direct financial and indirect financial interests, proximity interests, and impartiality interests. A person is likely to have a financial interest if a matter to be dealt with by the local government will result in a financial gain, loss, benefit, or detriment for that person. A subset of financial interests, an indirect financial interest, can be established by showing that you or a person with whom you are closely associated has a financial relationship with a person or organisation requiring a local government decision. The Local Government Act provides a definition of a closely associated person. One example is a person who gives you a declarable gift, including an election gift. A person has a proximity interest in a matter if the matter concerns a proposed change to a planning scheme affecting land that adjoins the person's land, a proposed change to the zoning or use of land that adjoins the person's land, or a proposed development of land that adjoins the person's land. An impartiality interest means an interest that could or could reasonably be perceived to adversely affect the impartiality of the person having the interest, and includes an interest arising from kinship, friendship, or membership of an association. If you declare a financial, indirect financial, or proximity interest, you will not be able to participate in the decision-making process of a council in any way. If you declare an impartiality interest, you will be able to participate in debate of a matter and vote at that council meeting. Section 5, impacts on home life. The time commitment. Elected members are typically well-organised people who can commit to the local government's many activities. These include council and committee meetings, briefing sessions, reading and preparation, community duties, and civic duties. The challenges. As a consequence, you may experience fewer evenings at home, less time for personal recreation and hobbies, regular interruptions like phone calls and emails. You may miss the odd family occasion, and your mind may be focused elsewhere. And then there also is dealing with negative community sentiment or backlash that can happen at times. The good. However, you can meet these challenges through commitment and effort with resulting benefits such as you contribute to the development of the local government. You have the privilege of representing the interests of the community on council. You make important decisions that have a major and lasting impact on your community, and you feel a sense of achievement and gain a feeling of self-worth. Another aspect of your personal life that may change is associated with the use of social media. Many people are active on social media and rely upon it to communicate their thoughts, views, beliefs, and responses to contemporary issues. But if you become an elected member, will this have to change? Keep in mind our earlier advice that you are always a councillor for the term of your office and that you cannot wear two hats where the business of local government is concerned. Many current elected members maintain a social media presence and do so appropriately and effectively. They do this by refraining from making negative or denigrating personal comments about any aspect of their role on council. If you choose to utilise social media, do so by maintaining a positive and informative profile. Section 6, frequently asked questions. We've prepared some questions to assist you. The first question, do elected members get paid? The answer is yes. The WA Salaries and Allowances Tribunal remunerates elected members based on the band allocated to your local government. The bands are determined on the size of local governments and can be found on the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal website. You can be remunerated on a per meeting basis or by annual allowance. This is a decision for each council. Mayors, presidents and deputy mayors presidents receive additional remuneration in recognition of the additional roles they play. You'll also be reimbursed for particular expenses associated with your role as an elected member. On this slide, we see the breakdown of fees elected members are entitled to per meeting. For example, if you are a Band 3 council, the minimum a councillor can receive is $191 to a maximum of $406 per meeting, and the mayor or president would get between $191 and $628. The council determines what the amount is between the band. Alternatively, elected members can be paid an annual attendance fee. For example, in Band 4, a councillor may be paid between $3,553 and $9,410, and the mayor or president between $3,553 and $19,341. In addition, there's an allowance for the mayor or president for their additional functions, as listed on the screen. Question 2, must I live in a ward to run for election to that ward? The answer is no, you don't have to live in the same ward. You must be an elector of the district to stand for council, regardless of whether it is a ward election or a district election. Every elected member has an obligation under the Act to make decisions that are in the best interests of the people within the entire district. Question 3, must I be an Australian citizen to nominate for council? And what if I am a dual citizen? It is not a specific requirement of the Local Government Act that you must be an Australian citizen. Neither is being a dual citizen mentioned. First and foremost, you must be over 18 years of age and an elector of the district which you are seeking election. Some people may be disqualified from nominating due to insolvency, criminal convictions, being a current member of Parliament, or being a member of another council. Question 4, this is our final question. Is it true that elected members cannot contact staff directly, for example, to ask them to deal with a particular problem? Elected members are required to follow the established communication protocols. Elected member inquiries should be directed to the CEO, and the CEO may permit directors, senior managers to receive inquiries. Following this communication protocol, you will ensure you are not seen to inadvertently direct staff, as this is exclusively the function of the CEO. So you just need to contact the CEO to find out what the established communication protocols are. Section 7, we're looking at resources and training. Elected members have a wide range of resources and training at their disposal. Let's look at some of these now. WELGA has operated as a registered training organisation since 2008 and offers a range of training courses developed and delivered by local government sector experts. WELGA's courses are delivered at our West Leederville premises, on-site at various metropolitan and regional local governments, and additionally via selected e-learning opportunities. In addition, the Department of Local Government can be contacted and they have a wide range of information, but most importantly, contact your CEO and senior staff at your local government. WELGA's learning and development pathway has been broken down into 3 stages, which consist of a blend of face-to-face and e-learning training courses. All of WELGA's training courses have been specifically developed to meet the needs of elected members in WA. Stage 1, at the bottom of the slide, refers to Elected Member Essentials, which has been designed to deliver the essential skills and knowledge required by an elected member to perform their role as defined in the Local Government Act 1995. And WELGA would encourage all newly elected members to undertake this training as a priority upon being elected. Please contact WELGA's training team for more information on any of these courses. We've now reached the end of the presentation and will open the floor to questions. Please type in any questions you have using the questions function. Due to the high number of attendees, we may not be able to respond to all questions tonight. However, we will post a written response to all submitted questions on the WELGA website within 5 business days. All registrants will be notified when this occurs. If you could just be patient for a few seconds while we consider the best response to your questions, and we'll be with you shortly.